Welcome to your weekly look at West Georgia Wolves men's basketball on the Coach Dave Moore Show. And hello again, everybody. The Coach Dave Moore Show, the head coach of Wolves basketball, Coach Dave Moore, with us today. Getting ready for the road to continue for the West Georgia Wolves. This week, the Southern Swing in the Gulf South Conference. Thursday, Valdosta State at the Complex. And Saturday, it'll be in Pensacola against West Florida. Thursday evening, Valdosta State Blazers. Coach, when you took the job, you knew there's a rivalry situation there, and you knew they were going to be one of the big dogs in the league, and right there they are.
Yeah, defending regular season Gulf South champions and playing really well this year, averaging over 90 points a game and right there at the top of the league. And it's going to be a big challenge. It's going to be a big challenge. They've got balanced scoring. They've got guys who can play at every position, and we're going to have our hands full.
You mentioned they're scoring 90 points a ball game. They have the reigning conference player of the year in Mo Justice, but if he was all they had, that'd be one thing. But that's certainly not all they have with Morgan and Jose and those other guys.
Yeah, it's certainly not a one-man show. They've got balance. They've got 3 of the top 14 scorers in the league, and then they got 2 big guys inside that can really play. They can throw it into Jones, they can throw it into Smith, and get baskets from those guys too. So it's a balanced attack. They can play small. They can play big. They're similar to us that way. They've been starting small with 4 guards, and then they'll go big with the 2 big guys inside. But we're just gonna have to play our game. Try to limit them as much as we can in transition. Take as many easy baskets away from them and make them earn it in the half court. That's big for us.
Of course, the transition game, they get it down off the board, down the floor, and go really quickly. They feed off turnovers, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and they're similar to us that way. They're right there with us in terms of forcing turnovers, and that feeds our offense, and it feeds their offense as well. So we've got to take care of the basketball. And the thing with them, they they multiple guys that can push the ball off a turnover or a missed shot. It's not just get it to the point guard and play. They got guys that can go at every position. So they put pressure on you in transition, and we've got to get back, sprint back, and build up our defense quickly.
We were playing at I thought a really fun atmosphere the other night up at Lee, and of course we'll have that with an even bigger crowd down in Valdosta. Our guys seem to feed off that a little bit. That they love that kind of challenge, and one of those I don't want to say necessarily chip on shoulder, but our guys are workers, and they delighted in that, I think, a little the other night.
Yeah, we talked about it before the game. It was a good environment, like the great student section there at Lee, and ball players love that environment. Guys that are competitive guys that are ball players love to play in that type of environment. Nobody wants to play in an empty gym, and the Lee atmosphere was terrific, and we're anticipating, something the same or even better at Valdosta State. And hopefully it's a great student section and they're on our guys. And I think that fuels competitive players. And those are the type of environments we want to play in.
We'll see that environment. Obviously, a very good Blazer basketball team down at the corner of Sostella and Baytree Road coming up on Thursday, 8:00 tip for the Wolves. Last week we talked a good bit right after the ball game of the victory over Lee. The shorthanded nature of it. How does that look now? We're talking on Tuesday. You tip on Thursday. How does it look with Mark Will and with Greg or anything else that might come along?
Yeah, well, we had them both back at practice yesterday. Mark Will's feeling a lot better. And Greg is, he's got the hand taped up. He's got the thumb taped up on his left hand, but he's cleared to go. He's cleared to go. So now the challenge is to get him back in the rotation and have some balance with it, and make sure our young guys like Simmons and Zebatakis are continuing to get minutes. But Greg's a valuable piece for us, and we're gonna get him in the rotation gradually and see how he does. He's been out quite a bit or quite a while. And, it's going to be an adjustment for him coming back. But we're excited to have him back in practice. He has another guy that can play to our rotation and another guy that can make shots, which for us is important.
As we're talking here, of course, we won't be back until after the road trip. We've talked a lot about the Valdosta ball game. But after that, another challenge. You go to Pensacola on Saturday, a talented West Florida team that maybe seems like they're gaining some traction right now after a slow start.
Yeah, they had a slow start, but they got players. They got size, they got length, they got athleticism. They got guys that can play, and they'll be tough to beat at home. And our challenge is just take it one at a time. We've got a lot of games left here in the league. and it's just about taking it one at a time, concentrating on Valdosta. Once we're done with Valdosta, now we turn the page to West Florida. But West Florida presents different challenges. They play long and athletic. They attack the basket. They attack the paint. They don't have as many skill guys shooting the ball as Valdosta does, but they can get it done in different ways. And then they went down to Valdosta and competed and played hard. And there's a lot of parity in this league. Anybody can beat anybody on a given night.
I think we've seen that
Yes.
show itself in a lot of different ways. Valdosta is all the run they had, a tough loss at Delta the other day. Delta's playing well. A lot of folks are playing well. And Coach Dave, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. You don't want to burn yourself out. You got to run hard every time out.
Yeah, that's why you got to approach it one game at a time, because a lot can change in a week. A lot can change in a 2-game period. Teams go on the road, have to play back-to-back road games. One team slips up at home. There's a whole lot of things that can happen. So we just got to keep our head down, stay focused on the task at hand, and that's Valdosta State.
Want to remind fans, the Wolves will tip it off a little bit after 8 o'clock against the Blazers at the Complex Thursday night in Valdosta. 2 days later, a 5 o'clock start at the UWF Fieldhouse in Pensacola. The Southern Swing, we're back home again next week with Christian Brothers and Union coming to town, but let's take care of this road swing, starting with the Blazers on Thursday, Coach.
That's right.
Thank you. Head Coach Dave Moore of the West Georgia Wolves. Thanks for joining us today on the Coach Dave Moore Show, and go Wolves.